supporters. There's a huge posé of policemen and women as well. And to be fair, I mean, despite the odd commotion that we saw earlier in the afternoon, and I believe, unfortunately, 2 elderly people have also died as Kanimuri walks down the steps and the rest of the immediate family of Karunanidhi walks down the steps of the Rajaji Hall, making their way into this open-top truck. A huge sea of policemen and women as well. Like I said, despite the occasional skirmish that we saw a few hours ago, the fact is that the police also have done a fairly commendable job. Purnima is joining us from the Anna Samadhi. I'm sure the entire route from Rajaji Hall to the Marina Beach to the Anna Samadhi, which is barely a couple of kilometers, is lined up with a sea of supporters, ordinary Tamil people who want to bid one final farewell to Kalaignar Karunanidhi. I don't know if funerals are comparable, but the state was in this exact same position less than 2 years ago when Jayalalitha died. And similar scenes, exactly the same journey from Rajaji Hall to Anna Samadhi. How would you compare both the funerals?
Well, Zaka, it's almost the same. What happened in 2016 and now 2018. Sea of people outside Rajaji Hall and en route to Anna Samadhi, and even this entire stretch of Marina filled with not just the supporters of the DMK but also the general public. You can see the entire stretch of Marina Beach filled with the public to get a glimpse of Karunanidhi, their beloved leader, considering that he was a tallest leader of Tamil Nadu. So clearly, the same situation cut to 2016, cut to 2018, and then what we saw in 2016. Clearly, all of them here waiting to get just that last glimpse of a politician, especially, and also be a part of the last rites that are taking place here at the iconic Anna Samadhi or even the MGR Memorial. The scenes are the same. Tens of thousands of people from Rajaji Hall en route to Anna Samadhi. It's just that two different politicians, and this time around it's going to be the end of the Dravidian era. But the only difference, Zaka, that I would like to bring to your notice is that the law and order situation is really not under control. You can see how at the Rajaji Hall, 2 died because of clashes that broke out between the crowd and the police officials. In fact, M.K. Stalin once again urged the party cadre to maintain calm and peace. Looking at the number of people here, especially the supporters of the DMK, the law and order issue would be a challenge for the police officials, for the state government, considering that many injured, 2 died so far, and the last journey, Karunanidhi's final journey, has begun. So for the next 2 hours, the police officials will try their best to ensure that no untoward incident takes place. Back to you.
All right, the pictures that we're seeing on the left from the Marina Beach and on the right from Rajaji Hall, as you see people just putting their hands up in the air, bidding farewell, in a blessing sign, some of them even trying to take pictures. I saw a few policemen also there who were stationed on duty trying to take pictures of Karunanidhi, the departed DMK patriarch. You also have to understand, I think, to some extent, the violence, or I wouldn't even say violence, but the skirmishes and the scuffles that you're seeing in different parts at the Marina, even at the Rajaji Hall, is also largely because of the nature of the DMK itself as a party organization. It's much more of a cadre-based organization, and therefore they have far more cadre than the AIDMK has. It's a far more organized cadre party than the AIDMK is, and therefore many of these people who are indulging in violence, in these skirmishes, could well be cadre who could either be doing it for their own ulterior motives or could be doing this as an expression of their grief at the loss and at the demise of such a stalwart, somebody who in many ways was not just at the forefront of the Dravidian movement. He was very much one of the founding souls of the movement, one of the pioneers of the movement, but eventually he also used the movement to attain political power and be in power for a number of years, for 5 terms, the longest serving chief minister both in terms of number of years and in terms of number of terms that he got, as his body is now on top of this open-top truck. It'll now make its way through this sea of humanity. I don't want to put out numbers there. Estimates suggest there are well over 1 lakh people between the Rajaji Hall and Marina. Something that we got to see when Jayalalitha also passed away, which was barely a year and a half ago. Tamil Nadu has seen many a high-profile political funeral. Anna Durai, when he died in 1969, many of us were not born. Many of the people in the crowd today were not born when that happened. 87, when MGR died. Again, by many estimates, 10 lakh people turned up at the Marina from different parts of the state. There were 3 straight days of violence after MGR died. So to that extent, both when Jayalalitha died and today when Karunanidhi has passed away, you should appreciate just the scale of the problem and the scale of the task that the police have had at hand. And to that extent, I think they've done a decent job. Just look at the sheer number of people in khaki in that sea of humanity that you see at the Rajaji Hall. Revati is there for us at the Rajaji Hall. Just walk us through these pictures. I mean, all we can see from the aerial shot is just people, and more people.
That's right, Zaka. Something that we have been seeing since yesterday and even today morning outside Rajaji Hall. Thousands of people, a sea of people, if one could say so. All of them still waiting outside that passageway through which Karunanidhi's mortal remains will be brought. All of them waiting there to get a final glimpse of their leader. A lot of them who were not able to get in, a lot of them who were not able to get a glimpse of Karunanidhi or pay their last respects to the leader earlier in the day. Remember, there were a lot of chaotic scenes outside and inside Rajaji Hall because of the sheer number of people who were present, and these people who were present hours before even the body had reached this venue. Probably all of these number of people running into more than 1 lakh, who were assembled here since morning, early hours of today to get a glimpse of Karunanidhi, and a lot of them still waiting. And we will see this crowd, all the way to Marina as well. We've seen them rallying behind the vehicle carrying Karunanidhi's body from hospital to one resident to the other, and from there to Rajaji Hall. We saw a crowd rallying behind that vehicle, and now we'll see that as the vehicle passes from Rajaji Hall to Marina, and there also thousands of them waiting for their leader's mortal remains to reach there. But at this point of time, a quick comparison to what the situation was a couple of hours ago. Police were unable to manage the crowd. They had completely, vandalized. They had broken barricades, jumped off fences, and gotten through different passages to that main venue. 2 people had unfortunately died as well in those incidents. And compared to that, now there is heavy police deployment. The security has been tightened. About an hour before the mortal remains could be taken out, the podium and the staircase, that part of the area was completely cordoned off. Public was kept away, and now the police will have to manage to get Karunanidhi's body through this crowd to Marina, where he will be laid to rest. So all along his way from that Rajaji Hall entrance to Marina, there will be thousands of people who are waiting to get a glimpse of him. There are people carrying the DMK flags, people with Karunanidhi's pictures. All of them, they're not necessarily party cadres or supporters or DMK sympathizers, but general public also who have come in. A lot of them respecting the man that he was, the person that he was, the personality that he was.
All right, as they now take the casket onto the open-top truck, and it's the truck that will make its way through this mass of humanity that we're seeing there in a short distance, really, between Rajaji Hall and the Marina Beach at the Anna Samadhi, where he will be finally laid to rest alongside his political mentor, Anna Durai, his old friend turned political adversary, M.G. Ramachandran, and of course Jayalalitha, with whom he had a very antagonistic relationship for 20-25 years. that they were both in active politics through much of the late 90s and the first decade of the 2000s. You know, for many viewers who are watching this broadcast from outside of Tamil Nadu, you must be intrigued, you must be wondering, why is there so much almost deification of a politician, of a political personality? And it's a very uniquely Tamil feature, a very uniquely Dravidian feature, where in and of itself, these are towering political personalities. Kalaignar, for example, has a record of 50 years of public life. He has touched upon people's lives in a way that you can only the Tamil people will be able to describe and express through his policies when he was in power, and of course through his politics when he was out of power. And the sea of people that you see cannot only be just supporters or party workers. This is ordinary public. Like I said, I even saw some policemen and women trying to take pictures of Karunanidhi's final journey. So clearly, his policies have touched people. The deification is again a unique aspect of Dravidian politics, where these larger-than-life political personalities, many of them have come from a film background. Karunanidhi certainly has, MGR did, Jayalalitha did. So in any case, they did have a larger-than-life persona about them, which only got further magnified through their political journey. So there is a sense of deification, treating politicians like demigods. That is just part and parcel of Tamil culture, of Dravidian culture. May not be entirely explicable rationally. You may not be able to entirely explain this with cogent, logical arguments, but certainly this is a facet. You've seen this when, like I said, when Annadurai died, when MGR died, when Jayalalitha died, and now, of course, when Kalaignar Karunanidhi has died. The almost mass adulation that you're seeing amongst those people is something that you can only experience. It is a little hard to explain this phenomena. It's only something that you can experience while you are in the midst of that sea of humanity. Purnima Murli is there at Marina Beach, where even the very fact, Purnima, that that he's going to be buried and laid to rest in a burial site right next to his political mentor Annadurai, his friend turned adversary M.G. Ramachandran. In a sense, his place in Tamil history is being sealed today with that place at the Marina. So we'll go back to Purnima as well as to...
Right.
Yeah,
in fact, if you look at both the DMK and
all right, I think her video is frozen. We'll try and go back to Purnima once we're able to re-establish contact. But you can see, DMK party flags, the sea of people. This is going to be a burial with full state honors. So there will be a 21-gun salute at the burial site. Of course, his body is draped in the national flag. The casket itself is being carried by soldiers of the Indian Army. It will now make its way through this sea of humanity. It will crawl its way through the sea of humanity. A short distance of a couple of kilometers. I'm sure it'll take at least a couple of hours for them to traverse that distance. Revati is there at the Rajaji Hall. I mean, I'm looking at some of the main roads that lead out of the Rajaji Hall into Marina Beach. It's just the entire area is just filled with people. I can't find place for any more people there. So this is right outside the main gates of Rajaji Hall. It's a short, slightly narrow lane, if you would, a narrow road that leads up from Rajaji Hall through to the beach road, the Marina Beach Road, which of course again is runs right parallel to the Marina Beach itself. And that entire area, it's not very expansive by way of breadth and scope. But certainly, it's not a narrow, dingy lane. But the entire area is just filled with people. Just look at that. I don't think there is place to stand there. It is that chock-a-block full with just people. Like I said, not all of them are just party workers or sympathizers or cadre. Many of them are general public. Maybe many of them have just come to get a last glimpse. There's a phrase in Tamil called Vedikai Paakkurathu, which means you've just come to, soak in the atmosphere. You've just come in to see the spectacle. Admittedly, many of them would have just come to see this final journey of Karunanidhi. But at some level, it's also an acknowledgement and a symbol of the kind of respect this man has had from Tamil people and the kind of contribution he has made in 50 years of public life in a way that's touched individual lives, in good ways and bad. You could accuse Karunanidhi of, promoting dynastic politics, corruption of the first family, so on and so forth. But all of that, be that as it may, you cannot take away the contributions of Karunanidhi to the self-respect movement, to the fight against casteism, to the fight against superstition and, Moodanambika, superstitious belief, as it's called in Tamil. His contribution to just shaping Tamil cultural consciousness is incredible. And I think the sheer volume of people who've turned up today for his funeral are a testimony to that contribution. Revati is there outside the Rajaji Hall for us. Like I said, we're looking at the aerial shot of the main gate outside the Rajaji Hall, the small road that, snakes up from Rajaji Hall to the Marina Beach. And that entire place is just full. It's just full with people. All right, I don't think Revati can hear me. Let me go across to T.M. Veeraraghav, senior journalist, who's also joining us on this broadcast. I don't know, Veera, if you can see these pictures, people under the flyover, next to the metro corridor, on top of roofs, on top of trees. I mean, this is par for course. This is the kind of funeral that is befitting of a leader like Karunanidhi.
That's right. It's one that befits a leader like Karunanidhi in Tamil Nadu, because this is how Tamil Nadu bids adieu to those it loved. Whether it was a Shivaji Ganeshan, whether it was an M.G. Ramachandran, whether it was a J. Jayalalitha, whether it was a C.N. Annadurai, large funeral processions where people are, gathering in the tens and thousands and an outpouring of emotion. That's how this is part of the Tamil Nadu narrative as well. And this is perhaps the way he would have wanted to go, to finally to his resting place right next to his founder. On the one side will rest M.G. Ramachandran, and finally on the other will rest M. Karunanidhi. And on the other side of M.G. Ramachandran will rest J. Jayalalitha. Well, that's the end of whatever we've known of Tamil Nadu politics. I think as observers we might find it very difficult to understand how the state will shape up or how its politics will go on. And that's why Karunanidhi is the longest serving thread between, in fact, even between pre-independence and post-independence India and Tamil Nadu. But for the entire genesis, from its genesis, for the Dravidian story to be told, he has been the thread. And that's why many of us believe that henceforth documenting information in terms of Dravidian politics would be extraordinarily important for future generations to know the entire story. Because without him, there is no star and there is no storyteller to tell you how it started, what twists and turns it went through, and finally where it came.
It's fascinating. I mean, just the sea of humanity, many of them waving goodbye, many of them were beating their chests, beating their heads. And Vicky, if you can explain to our viewers who may be watching this broadcast outside of Tamil Nadu, this intriguing deification almost of political personalities like a Karunanidhi or a Jayalalitha. I mean, you can't entirely fully explain it rationally, but you could give it a shot.
Well, I don't think it's very difficult to explain it. It's pretty similar to what you see with the Congress party and the Gandhi family. The deification of the Gandhi family and the way the Congress party behaves at several cases. Well, we speak about the burial rights and politics over the death at the time of death in Tamil Nadu. Well, let's not forget that the Congress party refused to allow P.V. Narasimha Raw's cottage to pass through 24 Akbar Road, though he was Prime Minister of India for 5 full years and for the only non-Gandhi family Prime Minister for 5 years. So this is not something that's very difficult to explain. It's not something that's very different. It is just that it's more pronounced in Tamil Nadu because of the fact that I believe that the rest of India doesn't understand. Much of it is lost in translation to the rest of India, and they find it very different. But the DNA is very, very similar to what you've seen with, let's say, the Congress party. So if I were to explain this to somebody else, it's just the fact that there was a further division, and it happens in a language which much of India cannot comprehend. But because of that unique language and the fact that it's different from the rest, as many other southern states are, it's a little more pronounced in Tamil Nadu in terms of its own local icons. They occupy to the Tamil population the psychological space that the Gandhi family occupies to the Congress, to a congressman, or perhaps or perhaps the creation of another personality in another party. But pretty much as far as Tamil sentiments are concerned, these are tall leaders for them. They have identified with the personalities. And the reason why there is such bitter personality rivalry, Zaka, is purely because after the founder of the Dravidian movement passed away, C.N. Annadurai, the two factions represent him and his legacy. The fight is for the same legacy and for the same ideology of C.N. Annadurai. So what differentiates politically between these two parties? It's only the personality which is the difference, because the ideology and everything else is the same. Both parties would champion themselves, would project themselves as champions of Tamil, champions of Dravidian ideology, and custodians of Anna's legacy, which is why the only thing that differentiates them in electoral politics purely, and I'm not talking in terms of organization of party or its DNAs, but to the electorate, the only differentiator between these two in terms of a tangible debate is their personality. And that is why everything revolves around the personality divide. That's how they can keep the parties together. To give them two distinct identities, you needed that bitter rivalry. And that's the reason why you see that kind of personality politics in Tamil Nadu.
I just want to press you a little more on that point about, the comparison that you made to the Gandhi family. And to an extent, you're right. I mean, at least to Congress party men and women, certainly, I mean, the Gandhi family is also deified. I mean, people who've been through Rajiv Gandhi's funeral and, of course, Indira Gandhi's funeral and the nature and circumstances of the deaths of both of those former prime ministers, certainly, I mean, there were lakhs and lakhs of people in the streets of Delhi, both when Indira Gandhi died as well as when Rajiv Gandhi died. But just to press on that point a little more, I mean, the sea of people that you're seeing there today, at the Marina and in the route from Rajaji Hall up to the Marina, Vicky, is not just, cadre or supporters or sympathizers. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these people, and in fact, I'd even venture to say that a majority of these people are just ordinary public who may or may not be, ideologically supercharged for the DMK or the AIDMK.
Oh, yes, they are. You will see that when you go into government offices in Tamil Nadu, even if they have voted against the DMK or if they had, they were neutral, they still had an affinity to M. Karunanidhi. I think especially government servants to a large extent had a great affinity to M. Karunanidhi. You have population which has been... Remember, Parasakti was a legendary film. His scripts, his plays, until the very end, Romapuri Pandian was a serial that he put out in Kalaignar TV. which would come out. And I know people, even my own relatives, and perhaps people who do not live in Tamil Nadu anymore, who would be glued to the story that unfolded on Kalaignar TV. So him as a scriptwriter, remember, you cannot remember him no longer as just a politician now that he's dead and gone. He needs to be remembered as a scriptwriter, as a man who was the custodian of Tamil in many ways, in more ways than one. And as I mentioned to you, the thread that connected 20th century India with the politics that unfolded, 21st century India with the politics that unfolded in the later half of the 20th century. So obviously, as five-time chief minister and someone who's been DMK president for 6 decades, he has a personality which is beyond just his politics. So it is not just the DMK cadre. And that holds true even for J. Jayalalitha. Well, largely her cadre, but then she had a charisma that touched people. They actually genuinely related with that leader, which all of this goes into the recipe for making that powerful a personality in state politics.
All right, T.M. Virrago, many thanks for joining us with your thoughts and perspective on this final journey of Kalaignar Dr. Karunanidhi, as he's known across the Tamil land. And the sea of people that you see, I mean, my only attempt to try and make sense of this story for viewers outside of Tamil Nadu is to try and, get an insight into how does one explain the kind of mass adulation, almost deification of political personalities like a Karunanidhi or a Jayalalitha before him, MGR, of course, Annadurai, if you go back all the way to 1969. What explains this? Let's try and also speak to Sudarshan Ramabhadran. He's a senior research fellow with the India Foundation. Again, I'm just trying to help our viewers outside of Tamil Nadu who may be watching this broadcast in the rest of India, around the world, to get an insight as to what explains this mass adulation. Some of it, Vicky was also trying to say, because a lot of these people came from cinema, they were anyway larger-than-life personalities. But almost like, if you look at the pictures of the people beating their chest and beating their head, it's almost like a god has departed.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year is also significant in many ways. Like I told yesterday, it is the 50th year of him being the party president for the DMK. No one in India till date has attained that achievement as far as I'm concerned. So, and here was a grassroots leader who came from a humble background. The community was called Isaivelala community, and from there to come up the rank on the plank of social was something fascinating. And he remains one of the makers of modern Tamil history for certain. And he connected with, there was a period between 69 to 80s when DMK put forth Tamil Nadu on the path of progress. At that point in time, Karunanidhi established a perfect political party structure wherein a district collector was finding it incredibly easy to coordinate with the district party president. So that was his prowess, and it was not just a single-man leadership. He decentralized leadership to a large extent, and as a result, you can see so much adulation for him today.
All right, as we see the pictures of the casket, the glass casket in which his mortal remains are kept, the wooden coffin in which he will be laid to rest, we have some still shots of that wooden coffin as well. There is a very famous slogan or a phrase that's been encrypted on that coffin, and reportedly this was what Karunanidhi wanted encrypted on his coffin. It reads in Tamil, "Oivedukkamal uழைத்தவன் இதோ ஓய்வு கொண்டிருக்கிறான்," which means a person who's never rested in his life, here he lies in eternal rest. Can you make sense of that for us, Sudarshan? Why is that such a... I mean, why does that so capture Karunanidhi?
He was undefeated as an MLA. The only time he was not an MLA, he chose not to contest the polls then. and his contribution to instituting the DMK as a strong regional cadre-based party. And my understanding as a student of Indian polity has been that there are rare leaders who have made Delhi come to Tamil Nadu. In that, there are two leaders, Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, made Delhi come to Tamil Nadu with their prowess, and that's their political persona.
It's interesting. I mean, when he will be finally laid to rest, on the one side he will have the Anna Samadhi, on the other side he will have the MGR Samadhi, and then of course on the third side he will have Jayalalitha's memorial. And in a sense, Karunanidhi sort of straddles these three generations, the Annadurai generation, the MGR generation, and the Jayalalitha generation.
Yeah, and he outlived, I mean, even Shivaji Ganeshan for that matter. We're forgetting another important person in his political career. And three were considered friends, Anna MGR and Shivaji. Perhaps Jayalalitha remains a political advisory, but he did instruct his cadres not to use her illness as a tool of political opportunism. But yes, in the midst of two of his friends and one adversary. That's how I'll put it.
All right, Sudarshan Ramabhadran, thank you very much. As we see these images of the final journey of a man who shaped not just modern Tamil and Dravidian history, also consciousness itself of the Tamil people, way beyond just the realm of politics, the realm of films, the realm of literature. He even edited Murasali, which is the DMK's party mouthpiece for a many number of years. His writing was prolific, even at an advanced age, even in his early 90s, till of course the last year or so when he was fairly indisposed. He was a prolific writer. He used to almost every day write something or the other. There's also tales of how through the emergency he used to write to his cadre through all the years that his party was out of power. Remember, his party was out of power all the way from 1972 to 1987 when MGR eventually died. There were no major splits in his party during that time, and the reason he was able to keep on together was through his writings, through his hold over the organization, as it were. We'll take a break on these pictures, but we're also getting some more breaking news, and it's already flashing on our ticker. The Social Welfare Minister of Bihar, the person who's been under the scanner for this shelter home mass sexual exploitation stories of girls that have been coming out for the last couple of weeks, Manju Verma, has resigned. We're going to take a break and come back to that breaking story.